Now I'm going to call upon the president of the Black Cultural Society, Sergeant Craig Smith, if he would come and do the official welcome.
Thank you, Pastor. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
On behalf of the board and staff of the Black Cultural Center, some board members who are present here this evening, could you please stand and be recognized while you're here? And our staff. So I want to give a big Black Cultural Center welcome to everybody in attendance for what will be a wonderful evening as we induct 4 more people into the Dr. W.P. Oliver Wall of Honor. And you're going to enjoy your evening and have some great entertainment. So welcome. If this is your first time, welcome. Come back again and bring somebody with you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Craig. I'm now going to call on the Minister of African Nova Scotian Affairs, Minister Ince.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here. Let me first acknowledge that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'm honored to be here because when I look around this room, I see folks who have been in that battleground long before me. Folks who have given me those tools, those advantages to allow me to be where I am today. Thank you to the Oliver's family, all those who have come before me, all those who have suffered, who have fought. Thank you. Thank you for lifting me up and giving me the strength, because I will tell you, daily, while I may not know of all the things that you've done to help us move our community forward, I can tell you that I do keep a lot of those memories, the stories, those people in mind daily when I'm there. Thank you. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Minister Ince. That was brief. See, I'm rubbing off on you. We're now going to be favored with 2 musical selections, one by Dr. Linda Carvery, accompanied by Sahwn Downey on the piano, and the other by Mr. Corey Adams, also accompanied by Sahwn.
brother George, he's not just a brother. He's like, man, he's a special person in my life. Brother of, brother in Christ. It's like my dad now. And this all came together when George called us up and invited us to this humongous eatery. I say eatery, there was so much food, it was unbelievable. Then he hit us with after we got our bellies full, he said, "You gonna be singing." I said, "Okay, brother, bring it on." So anyhow, we listened to some of these songs, and I think they were remarkable. I kind of fell in love with them. And there's so many, but I picked a few, and I hope I can do it justice. I just wish I could hear the track a little bit more. Come closer. He can say come closer all he wants. We're together every day, every single day of the week. I'd like to stay as far away as I can. I walk alone.
I just wish I could talk the way you sing. Now that you lose my mic, maybe it's there. That's like a radio voice. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Corey. Now I'm going to call upon Senator Wanda, and she left. Thomas-Bernard to come forward and give remarks and make a presentation.
Now, let me say this, first of all. Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. And I am just totally blown away by what we have just experienced. Honestly. So let's give another hand. Mr. Adams, arranged by Sahwn Downey, but written by Captain George Gordon. How awesome is that? It was all I could do to stay in my seat. And I wish I had just gotten up, and I think if I had, some of you may have gotten up behind me, right? On that last number. Oh my goodness. Just so amazing. Just so amazing. So I can barely get to what I'm supposed to do. I could just continue on. So hard for me to follow. But very briefly, because you have a speaker this evening, so I'm going to be ever so brief. But just want to highlight a few things. I was just thinking the last time I was here was when the Prime Minister of Canada graced this space. And that was so amazing. And the community members who were here, I think, absolutely enjoyed having the Prime Minister Trudeau here. And as you know, shortly after that, historic visit here, we didn't get much media play because there were some other things going on. But we must keep our eyes on the prize. We cannot, it's very easy to get sucked into everything that's going on. And you know, when you allow the media to dictate to you the information that you are to receive, you are doing yourself a disservice. So you need to always view the media, listen and read the media with a critical lens. Because if you do not, you're buying into anything and everything. So always be critical. Sorry, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to talk just ever so briefly about the Senate trying to just have every opportunity possible to talk about the work. And look here. Look here. End of the British slave trade. Not many people know about the end of the British slave trade. In fact, most of us who were educated in this country were taught that slavery didn't exist here. So if slavery didn't exist here, we don't have an end to it. And one of the things I wanted to talk with you about, just have a look at that just for a moment. And again, appreciate what we have in our country, the gems we have in our country. The picture on the bottom, I knew there was, this photo here is a photo of some of the young women of excellence from East Preston who went to Parliament Hill in November of 2017, the vision of Reverend Dr. Porter. These young women took over Parliament Hill. They really did. But as part of their journey to go to Parliament Hill, they wanted to bring part of their community with them. And each of the young people who participated created a community profile of some members of the community. And they were able to present them in Ottawa in front of MPs and senators and staff who work for the public service. And it was really quite amazing. And I remember one of the young women saying, you know, our parents and our grandparents have never had the opportunity to be here, but we are bringing them here through bringing their stories. Russell, I'm not sure where Russell disappeared to, but Russell has taken those stories for us and put them onto banners. And we unveiled them for the first time at East Preston United Baptist Church. So we have these banners of community profiles. And then Russell wanted to bring copies of them here. And so they will be here at the Black Cultural Center as well. And you know, we have extraordinary people who haven't had much attention because we've been pretty invisible. And our elders, our ancestors and our elders, they are truly amazing to have lived through what they've lived through and to pass on such wisdom and knowledge. And for young people to recognize, some of them were recognizing parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, and pulling out information on them that they didn't know before. And we hope, the reason why Russell wanted to bring this here to the Black Cultural Center was actually because he's hoping that other communities will do the same thing. It is time for us to pay tribute in multiple ways to our elders. And of course, we're here this evening is the Reverend Dr. William P. Oliver Knight. I want to say congratulations to those who are being inducted this evening. The others are on the board back there. And it's truly amazing that we have these opportunities, and we hope that we'll do more and more of that. In many of the events that happen on the Hill, especially with young people, we don't see many young people of African descent. The other photo there is the Day of Pink. And you know, out of about 150, there may have been 1 or 2 African Canadians. So we need to work to change that. And then I want to mention, I'm sponsoring this bill, S-255, which would have Emancipation Day recognized nationally. The bill is stuck at second reading. The idea of this bill, and this, you know, the history, if we don't know this history, we need to learn it. Because this is part of our history. But part of why we don't know the history is perhaps because it has never been taught. It hasn't been part of our history. So we have to almost create a separate education track for our young people. I took my grandsons last year to Owen Sound. They ended up on the front page of Owen Sound News. They thought they were just going with Nanny and Pops for the weekend. They didn't know they were going to learn about Emancipation Day in a very powerful way and to participate in the festivities. Last year was their 156th, which is the oldest. And I don't know if people realize this, but I think we used to celebrate Emancipation Day here in Nova Scotia. Somehow, for some reason, we stopped. We need to bring it back. August 1st is Emancipation Day. And of course, if this bill is passed, you will all want to be celebrating Emancipation Day on August 1st, right? Yeah. Right. Windsor has had many over the years. The different book lists in Toronto does a freedom ride midnight on July 31st on one of their underground subway trains. And it's a way of replicating the journey on the underground railroad. You're not allowed to talk, just to experience. It's really quite amazing. Ontario Black History Society is really to be commended. Dr. Rosemary Sadler, who was president for a number of years, has tried 3 times to get this bill passed. I need your help. I need your help to get it passed this year. Anne-Marie Hay, my parliamentary research assistant, she created these infographics. We're putting them everywhere. We'd invite you to pick up a copy of it tonight. Write, email, use social media, contact senators, MPs. It's stuck in second reading in the Senate, and if it doesn't pass by June, it will die. But guess what? I'm committed to bring it back after the next election. I've got 10 more years in the Senate. And if I have to work on it for 10 years, I will work on it for 10 years. Emancipation Day is really about remembering our past. It's about reflecting on our present, the conditions and the issues that we're addressing today. But it's also about preparing for our future. This bill must pass. Thank you.
In 1993, Wayne Adams was elected Nova Scotia's first black MLA member of the Legislative Assembly. MLA Adams represented the Preston riding. A long-serving municipal public servant, Wayne Adams seized an opportunity to represent a larger constituency by venturing into provincial politics. With a proven track record, after serving 5 terms as a municipal councillor, Adams made history by becoming the first black Nova Scotian elected to the legislature and the first black Nova Scotian to serve as a provincial cabinet minister in 1993. Prior to his 1993 election to the provincial legislature, Adam had accomplished professional life, moving from freelance writing in the late 1960s. Adams worked for 10 years as a news editor and broadcaster with CJCH, CHNS, and CBHT. This experience proved to be a good background for his foray into the civil service. With roles as media information officer and affirmative action officer, Adams was first elected county councillor in 1979, holding portfolios as the Minister of Supply and Services and Minister of the Environment, highlighted Adams' terms as MLA. During his tenure as MLA for Preston, Adams also had an illustrious career in community service and pursued interests in areas from boxing to scholarships and from landfills to race relations. On Wednesday, September 17, 1998, the Nova Scotia government unveiled a photo of Adams, which will permanently hang in the provincial legislature. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wayne Adams.
Something happened, I don't know. Best I don't know. Thank you, Pastor Johnson, for that wonderful introduction. He walked up to me 5 minutes earlier and says, "I don't have your bio." I said, "Go from memory." I don't think that was from memory, but he did a good job. Thank you very much. Mr. Minister, Pastor Porter, distinguished guests, everybody, Senator, and honorees. I think it's an honor. In fact, I don't think it is, I know it is, to be called upon to address you here this evening on this very special occasion, the Reverend Dr. W.P. Oliver Wall of Honor. It's a time that I will cherish in my career, because it's a joy to lift the name and the spirit and the memories of an individual who meant so much to me throughout my life. Dr. Oliver was a key mentor to me from the days of Sunday school to the Wolf Cubs, the Boy Scouts, to my marriage, to my spiritual rebirth, and yes, to my entry into the world of politics. I remember the scout camps Reverend Oliver took us on to teach us how to find our way in and out of the woods, in the backwoods of Lucasville. Thought we were in the forest. He taught us how to plant beans in his garden in Lucasville, and saw the miracle of a bean growing. So much more I could add, but not tonight. He was always there for me, and for some reason, he often understood me more than I understood myself. He used to tell my mother that I was his 5th son. My mother kind of wondered what that was all about. When he was a student at Dalhousie, Dr. Oliver boarded with my grandparents at 29 Creighton Street, Gus and Florence Adams. So tonight I want to reflect on a man who so many people should have known, who should have had the opportunity to live in the same time frame, or even walk the streets of Nova Scotia with him. Nonetheless, he should be a piece of mandatory study going forward. It appears to me that today's generation is somewhat devoid of the valuable information on the life and times of W.P. Oliver, as he was fondly referred to. So I want to talk about the man who often preached the gospel of moving out, of moving on, of rising above our circumstances, and of striving for excellence, urging us to become the best that we could at whatever we chose to be. Talking about a man who lived his purpose. In one of my last lengthy conversations with Dr. Oliver was when he called me to ask that it was true that he heard I was seeking the election to municipal council. And then he invited me to his home to have a coffee chat some evening. And as it's happened yesterday, I can remember it almost word for word and frame by frame. I remember my anxiety as I traveled to Lucasville to meet with him. I felt he was going to tell me out of politics and into the church. But no, he sat back in his rocking chair and made me feel relaxed as usual. He told me that on reflection of your life, Wayne, I'm delighted to see you offer yourself for public office. He continued that he preferred to see me in one of our pulpits. But you must realize that public office is also a call to a noble service, one that is also ordained by God. And before I left, he gave me some scriptures just to prove it. He gave me a personal charge for the office that I would seek. He also suggested that I quickly move on to a more senior level to serve the people, either provincial or federal. Well, I didn't listen to that advice. I stayed too long at municipal level. Unless I had a short life at the provincial level. He told me of the obstacles that I would face on a personal basis from my people and from the larger society. And once elected, told me how to deal with these issues and why it was so important. Was Dr. Oliver a prophet? You know, shortly after his passing, the late Reverend Dr. Donald Fairfax stood here in this place and declared that in his experience, Dr. W.P. was indeed a prophet who walked among us, and we as a people failed to recognize it. Well, be that as it may, I can tell you that all of what Dr. Oliver told me that evening in Lucasville and advised me for my political career has in fact come true. You had to read my book to get all the details. And no, my book's not written yet, but it's in progress. The Honorable Don Oliver, an accomplished Queen's Counsel lawyer, successful businessman, and Nova Scotia's first black senator, once described his brother, Reverend W.P., as a remarkable person, a gifted preacher, a champion of education, and a powerful advocate for the rights of black people. Don said his brother Bill exhibited leadership skills even as a schoolboy. In his senior year at Wolfville High School, for example, Don said he was captain of both the football and hockey teams when both teams won their league titles. W.P. Oliver continued to excel when he studied at Acadia University in the 1930s as a member of the water polo and hockey teams. But unlike high school, university games frequently required overnight trips, and teams of black athletes were not allowed to stay in certain hotels. So W.P. concentrated on track and field and won most of the races in the province. He was also a championship welterweight boxer while in the armed forces. Soon after earning his B.A., his Bachelor of Arts, and then his Bachelor of Divinity, he took over from his grandfather, Reverend William White, as pastor of Cornwallis Street Baptist Church in Halifax, where he served from 1937 to 1962. Reverend Dr. Oliver believed in education, as I told you. He was very instrumental in moving the government of the day to begin compensation for effects left by the Segregated School Act of Nova Scotia. He helped to establish the Education Fund for Black students, to which he asked government to appoint 2 active young people to sit on his advisory board. Dr. Oliver always reached out to young people to help serve the greater good. Even here, early in the life of the Black Cultural Society, he volunteered Ann Simmons, who's here tonight. She was Ann Smith then, but he volunteered her to serve on the board of directors as a very young girl. The late Gary Lopez and myself were the youth appointees to the long-running and sometimes controversial Education Fund for Black students. And yes, the program worked as a hand up to thousands of marginalized Black families in this province. Dr. Oliver also started a significant movement of educating Black adults in the evenings throughout the province's Black communities. It was the adult education program, which he did in partnership with the Nova Scotia Department of Education. This was yet another effort to educate more formally the sons and daughters of those who were denied a formal education by law. WP sincerely believed that everyone had the right to earn a fair wage, and to that end, he engaged the governments of the day to recognize that Black labor was equal to white labor. He believed in the equality of the races. His vision for the world was one based on full inclusiveness in all facets of social and civic life. One of my lifetime friends, Jules Oliver, always noted how proud he was about his father's thinking and influence on him and many other Black leaders during the 1960s. He describes his father's whole ministry as an attempt to inspire and produce Black leadership and to stress the importance of giving back to one's community. Dr. Oliver fervently believed that education and a strong spiritual foundation were necessary in leadership development, as he was heard say many times, so that leaders of our Black communities in the years to come will be able to keep up with the progress and competition that the modern world presents. Dr. WP was a waymaker. Many people said that he was the right man at the right place at the right time. He worked with heads of state, senior business owners, with the same fortitude as his religious colleagues. For more than 50 years, he and his wife, Dr. Pearly and Oliver, fought hard to remove a number of barriers of discrimination in employment. They co-founded the Nova Scotia Association for the Advancement of Colored People. One of their first victories, together with the Toronto Negro Veterans Association, was to get nursing schools to accept Black women. They also succeeded in bringing national attention to the Jim Crow practices here in Nova Scotia, such as segregated schools, segregated neighborhoods, and segregated theaters. The Olivers were very involved in supporting Viola Desmond in both her career and legal pursuits in the wake of the Roseland Theater issue. Across the years, many of the things that bothered Dr. Oliver motivated him. And if there was one event that angered him more than any other, according to his brother Don, was the tragic demise of Africville, where Blacks first settled in 1848 and struggled to build a community of respect, pride, and spirit. The Africville relocation was a study in pathos. No attempt was made to save the community. It was a cruel tragedy that did not have to happen. That tragedy had galvanized the people of Halifax, creating a unifying force which encouraged Blacks to stand up for their rights. Oliver was inspired to become even more vocal, compelling him to make his dream of a Black cultural center a showcase of the achievements of Nova Scotia Blacks throughout the ages a reality. He always pushed for the positive in the midst of darkness. He wanted our young people to appreciate their history and to be proud of their contributions to the building of Canada. One of the building blocks of Canada is indeed this place where we are this evening, the Black Cultural Center. After years of study and research, Don Oliver drafted the purpose and clauses of a new legislative bill. It was the act to protect and preserve Black culture in Nova Scotia. It became law and served to make Dr. Oliver's dream of a new education center for Black culture a reality. I remember when I was working here in 1993, I was seconded by the government to be a executive director for 1 year. Dr. Oliver handed me a set of blueprints. He said, put these under lock and key. You're going to need them in the future. It was the plans for the expansion of this building, 1984. I focus on some of the legacy of the late Reverend Oliver, but I want to take a journey down memory lane because I think the memory of the 60s and the monumental changes that took place in Nova Scotia's Black emergence are worthy to tell. I feel the need to tell some of the story that should be the foundation of any ongoing efforts to reduce the marginalization of Black people here in Nova Scotia. I'm talking about the foundational stories that so often appear to be forgotten by too many of our people. I often hear and see people who look like me ignoring or at least failing to tell the stories of past achievements in and by our Black leaders in our communities. Doing so is a disservice to today's generation, certainly to yesterday's generation, and the future. And it's this disrespect for all that happened in yesteryears. John Clark once wrote, and I quote, "History is a clock that people use to tell their political time of day. It is a compass that they use to find themselves on the map of human geography. It also tells them where they are and what they are. Most importantly, an understanding of history tells the people where they still must go and what they still must be." End of quote. In the late 50s and 60s, discrimination on the grounds of skin color was rampant everywhere. Only a handful of Blacks would be completing high school, and few, if any, would go on to university. The average Black lived in homes without basements, without insulation, and many without bathrooms, and with limited electrical power. In the late 60s, things were changing, albeit slowly. While we were becoming more aware of our plight and our status, we were growing more and more frustrated with no economic or social improvements. Global events had a large impact on our mounting frustrations. There was the civil rights movement in the United States, the South Africans suffering through apartheid, and Canada had the anti-poverty movement that seemed to leave us out. A new wave, a movement for social change in Nova Scotia was born, and at the center was Reverend Dr. W.P. Oliver, surrounded by a new crop of up-and-coming leaders. Leaders whose names we should never forget, and I don't have them all, but I'm going to list a few of them. We can't forget the likes of Buddy Day, Gus Winterburn, Burnley Rocky Jones, Don Oliver, Carlisle Warner, Jesse Dillard, Paul Wynn, Amos Stevens, Jules Oliver, Eugene Williams, and I'm sure, as I said, there are many more. There was a new era of media participation. Denfield Grant, we called him Denny Grant, published the popular magazine Coppertone. And this guy named Wayne Adams reported on Black events and issues in the former Dartmouth Free Press. Conditions for social transformation were right, and we were at the cutting edge. Then there was that 32-page report on social development authored by Eugene Williams and Jules Oliver. 5 months in the making. It was presented to the city of Halifax in September of 1968, and it was a scathing indictment of the employment situation faced by Blacks. The recommendations in that report were sobering, calling for immediate changes to the new Human Rights Act to provide protection against discrimination, the call for new or better transportation to communities, and of course, training programs for various service occupations. Then we remember December 1968. The spark starting the wave of social transformation was about to ignite. A conference entitled The Black Man in Nova Scotia. Don't know why they didn't include women, but it was called The Black Man in Nova Scotia. It was planned to coincide with the 20th anniversary of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. We were so geared up. The newspaper headlines screamed out one morning that 4 angry young men had come to Halifax, and they're all Black Panthers. Their arrival was preceded by leader Stokely Carmichael, the self-styled Prime Minister of the Panther movement in the U.S. He was a guest of rights activist Rocky Jones, and together this town was all abuzz. The media had a field day. White authorities and police were quite nervous. And yes, some blacks were a little anxious as well. However, many colleagues and I were elated with what we saw as a new opportunity. No longer would we be ignored. Even our dreams of equality had become a new reality. A week earlier, November 30th, 1968, saw several black groups in the city and surrounding communities in areas from across the province hold the first ever all-black meeting in North End, Halifax. That meeting was precipitated by 2 Black Panthers who had attended a meeting of the NSAACP just a week earlier and noted that too many speakers were white, intended to intimidate the black spokespeople who had too little to say. The Black Family meeting pulled together our leadership, and W.P. Oliver was at the core. A new social and political consciousness was born. Black identity became a reality, and the term Negro, it was out. Oliver declared we needed a new form of self-governance, a vehicle through which to speak. This all led to the formation of an umbrella organization called the Black United Front. These events created a national and political profile. The media focus was on Nova Scotia from coast to coast to coast. The federal government came to the forefront with long-term funding. In fact, the old Departments of Health and Welfare and the Secretary of State entered a series of negotiations with the Black United Front interim committee, and the results were dealt with at the federal cabinet table of who? Pierre Elliott Trudeau. In June 1969, federal opposition leader Bob Stanfield publicly supported the federal government's efforts in our black communities. Stanfield said he hoped the federal health minister of the day, John Monroe, who was the lead person on the file, would not be deterred from constructive measures to better the plight for Nova Scotia's Negroes. He hadn't got the new word by that time. By the 1970s, the feds had committed to a 5-year funding of $2.9 million. It was a lot of money in 1970. The largest funding ever provided to a Canadian non-profit. But there was more. Several million more came from a number of departments across the federal and provincial governments. The establishment of the Black United Front and the preceding conference were the defining moments in the black history of Nova Scotia. We witnessed the excitement of so many folks, and we all saw corrections to the education system, hundreds of housing units being replaced, renewed, or newly built, a new Human Rights Commission, road improvements in black communities. The media had become more positive in their stories about the black community. The radio program Black Journal was born, putting a positive spin on the developments in our provincial communities. We co-hosted the first Black History Day at the Halifax Armories with the Black United Front. The plight of black prisoners was also improved. Universities in corporate Nova Scotia came on side with new opportunities for our people. Jules Oliver, the first executive director of the Black United Front, said, and I quote, "In going beyond lip service to diversity, we are beginning to recognize that there can be no diversity without opportunity." That was but a snapshot of my recall from the 60s and 70s of my experience living and working with the solid leadership of the late Reverend Dr. W.P. Oliver. In recent years, several significant events have recognized the place of Nova Scotia blacks in world history. We have seen the modern completion of the Black Heritage Museum at Shelburne and the foray into the Book of Negroes. The city of Halifax apologized for the destruction of Africville. Then it hosted the 7th International African Diaspora Heritage Trail Conference, welcoming more than 350 people from 29 countries for a celebration of Black culture. The delegates witnessed the official opening of the Africville Seaview Church Museum and toured the newly refurbished Black Cultural Center. A new appreciation for the contributions of Blacks to our country is growing in the arena of politics, the arts, commerce, and industry, and of course the professions of clergy, medicine, and education. The Reverend Dr. William Pearly Oliver would be very proud today, as he should be. Much of his vision has been and still is being realized for the betterment of our people and for society as a whole. He used to talk about our sustained identity in this pluralistic society. He would say, hold high our spiritual and cultural values, integrate, but not assimilate. Yes, he would see the accomplishments as an opportunity to bring new light to the continuing struggle of Black Canadians for equality. The Black Cultural Center he created is a beacon to all Black Canadians. It reminds us of our duty to yesterday's Black leadership. It compels us to ensure we achieve our full potential, to achieve our dreams, and achieve our equality. May I suggest that we become engaged in a perpetual dialogue and meaningful discussion of change and forward thinking for the ongoing future and well-being of our people. It would be good if we were to pick up on the negotiating conversations that so many of us had in the 1960s and 70s. As a family, we must become more focused on the future. Our walk into the future as social, professional, and political participants needs to be strengthened, as I believe will be our greatest instrument to change attitudes of racial indifference. Reverend Oliver said we should never go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. Sustainable hard work is required by all of us as family members. To the honorees here tonight, congratulations. And I want to leave you with a quote from Dr. Oliver that he used to end a lot of messages with. As you sojourner on in life, please love God, work hard, and do harm to no one. You've been a good audience. Thank you very much.
Today I met a Christian, and I knew it from the start. He held my hand so warmly, and it came straight from the heart. It happened today. Thank you so much. Thank you for being my choir. You were really good. Really good.
I'm going to need a choir too.
Sure, that last one was a little bit loud.
To get to higher ground, I'm living as a client with almost every mind. The journey ain't no picnic, it's harder than I thought. I'm gonna climb that mountain, gonna give all I got. Chosen me your pathway, that's the safest of them all. Good Lord's here to catch me, if I start to fall. I haven't got my practice, my Bible is my guide. But when I get to heaven, I will sing my life. Climbing up God Mountain, you get to high ground. Lifting as I climb on heaven's bound. The journey ain't no picnic, it's harder than I thought. I'm gonna climb that mountain, gonna give up. I'm climbing up.
Now you know you wouldn't have wanted to be any other place than here tonight. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Corey. And thank you, George. And thank you, Sean. Oh, and aren't you glad I included you as a choir earlier? Wow. But you ain't getting paid for it, I just want you to know. Your work is voluntary. All right, so now comes the part of the program where we announce the inductees for 2019. Deacon Stanley A. Carvery is the son of the late Herbert and Clarissa Mantley Carvery. Born in Africville, Halifax, he was married to the late Alice Warrington and have been blessed with 5 children and 8 grandchildren and a number of great-grandchildren. A strong believer in education, Deacon Carvery went back to night school to finish his grade 12 and achieve his GED certificate. Deacon Carvery joined the Cobequid Road United Baptist Church in 1973. Along with his daughter Angela, they were responsible for the Sunday school operating again. Deacon Carvery has served the church community in many areas. Sunday school teacher, trustee, men's brotherhood, chair of building fund, organist, finance committee, and sick committee. He has been a constant worker at the church, both inside and out. He continued to serve as a deacon of the church and plays the organ. He has also been active as an executive member of the African United Baptist Association, as chair of the music committee. He served as district organizer of the Layman's Council for District 2. Deacon Carvery has also had a long commitment to the community through many forms of involvement. President of a community housing project in which 5 homes were built, an avid sportsman. He has coached hockey and baseball in the Saxville area for many years. He also served on many boards and committees, serving the community such as the local school board, Beacon House, Black United Front. He was active in the Africville Genealogy Society of former residents of the community of Africville. He has served as president and chair of the church committee for many years, and as trustee of the Africville Trust Fund. He was also instrumental in getting the names together for the cairn on the grounds of his former community. He retired after 43 years with the federal government, Halifax Dockyards. As a member of the Equity Lodge number 106, Stan became master of the lodge for 2 years. He then became an officer of the Grand Lodge and held the office of District Deputy Grand Master and represented all of Nova Scotia. He was responsible for 10 lodges. Deacon Carvery believes that he has been truly blessed by God, giving him the opportunity to share his talent for playing music, the ability to inspire and help others. I give you my father-in-law, Deacon Stan Carvery.
Just want to thank Almighty God for allowing me to do the things that I did. And I want to thank my pastor who was instrumental behind me, give me that little kick to do something. And with the Lord on his side, you're going to do it right. I want to thank the Africville Genealogy Society. And we heard a lot about Africville tonight, eh? Well, it was quite a place to be brought up into, eh? I remember the good old days. Swim, play, baseball, fights, and like that. And we knew all the Western cowboy music, Hank Snow and all that. We knew it all. When they come on the radio, we could sing along with them. So thank you very much, everybody. God bless. All right, before I leave, I'm going to say, there's one hymn kept bugging me all week. Eh? If I can help somebody as I travel along, then I live.
Gina Joan Williams, born in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Wilson, what did I say? Williams, I'm sorry. Okay, fellas, calm down. Heaven's flames going wild enough. All right, let me start over again. Gina Jones Wilson, born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, grew up in the community of Upper Hammonds Plains. Mrs. Jones Wilson is the daughter of Shirley and the late Christopher Jones. She is a retired 30-plus year employee of the province of Nova Scotia. She also had a remarkable 15-year career as a volunteer firefighter with the Upper Hammonds Plains Volunteer Fire Department, where she retired with the rank of lieutenant. A trailblazer and leader, Mrs. Jones-Wilson made history as a firefighter. She was the first female to become an officer in 2004, advancing to the rank of lieutenant. In 2006, that should be in not 2016, she became the first female African Nova Scotian volunteer firefighter in the province of Nova Scotia and within the Halifax Regional Fire Service to receive accreditation as a certified Level 1 firefighter under the International Fire Service Accreditation Congress. During her tenure as a lieutenant, she was involved in the 1998 Swiss Air disaster. Mrs. Jones-Wilson has a strong commitment to volunteering in the community with a strong focus on working with the youth, organizing activities and programs to inspire and encourage young people in a meaningful way. She has a desire to guide young people with a no-nonsense approach. Many young people in the community effectively call her Miss G. She is also very active in many community boards and groups, such as the Upper Hammonds Plains Community Development Association, Malvern Land Tract Society, Upper Hammonds Plains Education Committee, and the Upper Hammonds Plains Community Liaison Wind Farm Committee. She played an important role in community development and preservation through the organizing of many events and activities, such as the Upper Hammonds Plains Old School Reunion, community center renovations, and a community time capsule project, to name a few. A passionate leader, Mrs. Jones-Wilson has received many awards and recognition for her volunteer work in the community and remains active today. Gina Jones-Wilson.
It's going to be brief. And I just wanted to thank the Black Cultural Center for presenting me with this award, and for the person who nominated, put my name in. But this award is actually a family award, because when you volunteer in the community, your family are the ones that take the heat. I shouldn't say take the heat, but if you don't have your family behind you, it's not something that's going to work out. So in behalf of, I would like to, I knew it, that's why I didn't want to come. I would like to present this on behalf of my husband, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. This is for you, and my son Nico, who was there along my journey in volunteers.
Mrs. Ivory Provo was born in North Preston, Nova Scotia, the third of 15 children to Myrtle Crawley and Joseph Beals. She is the wife and partner of Mr. Samuel Provo Sr. Together they nurtured 4 children, also raised and nurtured a grandchild as their own. When Mrs. Provo entered school, she joined other community children in walking to Allen W. Evans School in North Preston until it burned down. After that, she had to leave the community to attend Cherry Brook School. Ivory obtained her grade 11 and attended night school to complete her grade 12. Ivory grew up in St. Thomas Baptist Church, and at the age of 12, she was baptized and became a member. Later, she would serve in several capacities: St. Thomas Canadian Girls in Training, Morning Glory Group, Women's Missionary Society, Superintendent of the Sunday School, Senior Choir, and Ladies Auxiliary member. Her volunteerism extends beyond the walls of her local church. She is a member of the Annie V. Johnson chapter of the IODE, North Preston, past leader of Girl Guides of North Preston, member of the Black Cultural Society of Nova Scotia, and member of the Preston and Area Cancer Marathon Fundraising Committee. Passionate about arts and crafts and giving back to the community, Mrs. Provo has sewn dresses for girls in Africa, sewn quilts to be donated to the homeless at Christmas time, and regularly knits to assist the seniors with fundraising. A member of the Senior Citizens Club of Nova Scotia, where she is currently the president, representing seniors and advocating for seniors' needs. Ivory, along with her seniors group, has knitted and sewn over 250 purple hats and 50 blankets and donated them to the IWK Children's Hospital. She has also extended her volunteerism into the broader community, canvassing for arthritis and heart and stroke campaigns, Forest Hills Baptist Church, and Feed Nova Scotia. Professionally, Ivory started working at the Dartmouth General Hospital when it opened in 1976 as a night supervisor. She has worked for Gluby's Furniture Store, Service Master, Royal L. Josie, and Modern Building Cleaner. In 1979, she went to work for the Old Halifax County School Board. Ivory was the first black woman in the old school board as a building maintenance supervisor. She worked for 35 years with the school board until she retired. Her welcoming spirit and warm smile have inspired all those she meets. Ivory, quote.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Lord for just allowing me to be here tonight. And I want to thank him for letting me see yesterday at 75 years. Back in my time when we were growing up, it was hard. Being the third of all those many children, I used to go to school, came home, had to do my chores just like the boy. And my father and mother, I'd like to thank them too, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have been where we are today. And my father used to always say to me, if you want anything, you have to get out there and work hard for it. You go downtown, you go to the store, you see something in the store, if you ain't got the money to pay for it, leave it there. And them times you used to do layaways, So we used to tell them to hold on to it, we'd get back the following week. Now, you making $15 and $20 now, a week. So you had to budget your money. And I thank the Lord for my mother. She showed me how to cook. She showed me how to cook. She showed me how to make pies. I miss her so bad when she passed. But in 2016, when I was struck down with cancer, I prayed and I asked the Lord to give me strength. Amen. He knows what I love doing. I like knitting, sewing, and plus all my housework. People will come in the house and say, you mean you clean this big house by yourself? Yes, because I was a cleaner, and I went to clean everybody else's dirt. So I had to clean my own dirt. And I just like to thank the person that put my name in. And I always used to say, if you want to recognize me while I'm alive. Because when you're dead, you don't know what's going on. And I just want to thank the Lord for him to give me the strength. When I worked at Cold Harbor High, before I retired, I used to always go in the guidance council office and sit there and talk to Miss Elmer times now. And I used to say to her, when I retire, you know what I want to do? I want to work with my senior group into North Preston, and plus the seniors, we have 15 zones. And we just don't do it in North Preston, we travel all over to different places. And I just want to thank him for giving me the strength. And when he's ready to take me, I just pray the Lord from one day to another that he will accept me into his kingdom in heaven. And I just want everybody to pray for my family. And I want to thank my husband. Like, I didn't want to bring him tonight, but he... When I went upstairs, got a shower, when I come down, I'm ready to go, and he was getting ready too. And I said, I couldn't say no. I said, just let him be. But I just want to thank the Lord for my children. Oh, my Lord, my grandson, Deacon. I just thank the Lord for him, man. Because he's right there for us. And I just want everyone to be there for him and to be there for us, because I'm a person that's kind. If I see something that I want, I would ask you for it. And anyone, if you see something that I have, ask me. If you want slippers knitted, dish towel and everything, don't say, oh, I ain't got the money. I'll do it. And I just thank the Lord for brothers and sisters. You know how sometimes, I'm not the speaker. But you know how you get so close to some of your brothers and so close to some of your sisters? But I got one brother that I don't got. Me and him is so close. And he said anything we want to call on him. But how can you call on someone the same age you are almost to do your work, you know? But I just pray the Lord that we don't have to worry about cooking. If I don't feel like cooking, we got a chef down there taking pictures. He will come out and cook. We got, I just want to help not only people in North Preston, anybody. If you see anything you want, ask me. And I'm there willing to help anybody. Not just North Preston. I just want to, if it's just a kind word, sometimes if you feel like you want to talk, call me. I just love, but I don't like talking on the phone, so you have to come. Especially thanks to the Lord, because from one day to another, he just give me that strength. And you know, yesterday, if anyone suffered with arthritis, yesterday was a bad day for me, and I got caught in that rain, and this morning my nose was just dripping, and I said, Lord, please, don't let me get a cold. But he just give me that strength to keep going on from day to day. From day to day. And thank you, and Russell, Cold Harbor High, you know, we came a long way, but I don't forget nothing, you know? But just think, I don't know. It still should be more people than this, because I'm quite sure, what I did, working into the church with the Sunday school and craft, and Mother used to teach me in school, and I could go back and say, I could even write a book, but I love knitting and crocheting, so.
I'm shocked. In all the years I've known Ivory, I've never known her to talk like that. I always thought she was shy. What happened?
All right. Certainly last but not least, Deacon Bruce D. Williams was born and raised on Cobequid Road, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. He was the third of 9 children born to the late Arthur E. and Lydia M. Williams. He married the former Margaret Dorrington of Beachville, Nova Scotia. Together they are blessed with 3 sons, 3 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. At an early age, Deacon Williams was introduced to the church, first through his attendance as a Sunday school student. At the age of 16 in 1956, he accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior and Lord and was baptized by the late Reverend Dr. William Pearly Oliver. He joined the fellowship of Cobequid Road United Baptist Church and has always been active in the work. At the age of 18, Deacon Williams became the president of his local brotherhood. In October of 1969, under the leadership of the late Reverend Dr. W.P. Oliver, he was ordained as a deacon of Cobequid Road United Baptist Church and continues to serve in that role today. A community leader and volunteer, Deacon Williams held many positions in the church community in many ways, such as Sunday school superintendent, church trustee, church clerk, Finance Committee, church musician, and Cobequid Road historian. At the age of 23, he became the chairperson of District Number 2 of the African United Baptist Association of Nova Scotia. In 1974, he held the position of key man on the Provincial Layman's Council. Outside of the church community, Deacon Williams mentored many youth in the Sackville area and coached baseball for many years. Deacon Williams is a graduate of the Halifax Regional Vocational School, presently known as NSCC, where he studied the trade of auto mechanics. For 45 years, he has worked in this profession and is now retired. During his successful career in the automotive industry, he operated a Fina service station in Bedford, Nova Scotia, owned and operated Bruce Williams Engine Exchange business in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and was employed with Canadian National Rail for 15 years. After leaving CN, he operated an automotive repair business for several years. Once he closed shop, he still wanted to keep active in the trade, so he worked part-time at Canadian Tire of Bedford Sackville. This is where he earned the title, Mr. Canadian Tire.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I want to thank God for allowing me to be here tonight, and allow me to do the things that I have done. And I turned 79 in February, and I told my wife, I said, I feel like jumping over the moon. That's quite a few years to walk this earth, 79 years, and I thank God for that. And I also want to thank my pastor for helping me to get this I don't know, it's the certificate here anyways. And see, she said you have to write a bio. I said, okay, I went home and I started to write. Couldn't write. So I waited till Tuesday when church. I took my bio up to her. She said, I don't know if I can write this. No, I got a lot of work, so she was doing some studies herself. But she didn't give it to me. She said, I see what I do. Well, I thank her for that, because she was very kind to her. And I listened to Dr. Adams speaking there about W.P. Oliver. He was in our church for 43 years. And they don't do it like they used to years ago. Mom took us all out and had us Christian, I guess that's what they call it, offered up to the Lord. Yeah, offered up to the Lord. So anyways, then I started growing a little up, and I can remember we had a Sunday school concert. I was only a little fella. I was still short. I was five years old. Sonny got to go up on the platform to say we called it recitation at that time. And I could hear down in the church audience, help that little fellow up there. Help him. I made it up the steps, and after I got through, I guess when I took a bow, my hand would reach down all the way. Also, I remember Dr. Oliver was in the church for 43 years, and I was just a young man when young kid when Reverend Oliver was there, and I used to listen to the old people talk, they'd be talking, and Mom kind of grew up with Dr. Oliver, and he was only a young kid then too, and Mom said, "Could you ever tap dance?" So anyways, I just waited, and he used to walk up the church floor, but we didn't have carpet, then we had the regular floor. He had clippers on the toes and on the heels. When he walked up the floor, you collect. I was waiting for him to tap dance. But it was fun. I really enjoyed my walk with the Lord. Because it's hard sometimes. It's not easy. It's not an easy walk. But you do the best you can while you're doing it. Because God never said anything was easy. Never said anything was easy. So I just do what I have to do and try to do it the best I can. And I I don't know how I got that name on Mr. Canadian. But they liked me after Canadian Carvery. What happened is, I was in the parks department. If somebody came for a park, instead of me running down that aisle and say, hey, I haven't done it, I used to go in the back, they'd come up with the park, and they said they could always count on me to get a park for them. And I liked that. That was a good thing. But after a while, I got too old. I couldn't hardly carry my own something. Deacon just said to me when he was there, he said, you're taking up the rear. He said, you're coming up down. I said, that's okay. And but we had good relations with Stan too. When he came to church to play the piano, and I tell him, me and Ernie talked about it, Stan learned to play the piano a lot of flats and shots. So we got together, we said, Stan, we got to play in G and C, and we got to play in the A's and the F's. So he broke in, but I always liked his playing. He had something about that piano that I liked. You know, the way he touched the piano. You really miss him. Yeah, but time goes on. We can't stay young forever. And I'm so glad that I grew up in a home. Well, if you were bad, Mom got a switch and give you repeat. So I always try my best to be good. She said to me one day, my brother Bob, he passed away now. He was acting. He was acting. And Mom said, Bruce, go down and get me a switch. I was reluctant to go to get a switch. She said, if you don't get that switch, you're getting some too. I had to go down and get the switch. I felt so sorry for Bob because she had him captain. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this. It was a nice evening, and I'm glad to be here, and I thank God that I'm able to be here. And thank you for the presentation that I had.
Certainly on behalf of the Black Cultural Society, I want to take and thank each and every one of you for coming.